The hosts and guests on Everything's Messy podcast are not licensed healthcare professionals. The discussions in our episodes are not personalized medical advice. Always consult a qualified healthcare provider for medical guidance. Never delay seeking professional medical advice or emergency assistance because of our podcast. We encourage consulting with a healthcare professional before making any significant health changes. By listening to our podcast, you agree to the disclaimer. Thank you for listening to Everything's Messy. Hey, welcome to Everything's Messy podcast, where we celebrate the beautiful but messy life experiences that most, if not all, people go through. Get ready to embark on an exciting journey through the raw and unfiltered stories of everyday people. Here, we dive into messy realities of life, from making messy mistakes to triumphs and everything in between. Are you sensing a theme? That's right, it's messy. But this just isn't about the mess. It's about finding strength and resilience in the midst of it all. We'll explore how health, fitness, and wellness play a crucial role in navigating life's twists and very messy turns. And we'll challenge conventional systems, because sometimes the most unconventional paths lead to the greatest discoveries. Join us as we embrace the messy, beautiful, and endlessly fascinating stories. Each episode is a testament to the power of our messy journeys and the beauty that emerges from the mess. So grab your favorite beverage, coffee, sparkling water, whatever it may be, and prepare to be inspired. Are you ready? Let's get messy. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Everything's Messy podcast. I am your messy host, Sarah. Joining me today, okay, Messy Warriors, I have a really cool guest today. I have Tim Stevenson. He is just, okay, talk about a resume that just reads of just name drop. And I'm going to let you talk about that. But I just want to talk about first, fellow podcaster, host of It's Not Black, It's Not White, accomplished dancer, accomplished choreographer, and your big company now, Moat, which is just doing amazing things. And then also I see that you're sort of a mentor and teacher with the Cason Project, which is just really great to be outreaching to those kids and giving them a different side of the world, right? So
Absolutely.
Welcome, Tim, to
Thank
Everything's
you for having
Messy.
me.
Yes, we're glad to have you.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, so before I hit record, we talked about how we're going to get a little messy, as we like to do.
That's what we do here.
Yeah, but before we jump into that, just kind of give us a little bit of background of how you got in to be able to drop those names that you can drop.
Well, the entertainment side, it's actually a really funny story because I was a jock my whole life. So in regards to FIFA, I was a Olympic development soccer player my whole life.
Nice.
And then when I went to college, I wanted to be like an actor. So I took some dance classes and I kind of fell in love with the dance side of things. And then that rolled into like going to LA, finding an agent, doing all that jazz, which in itself is a crazy learning curve because coming from especially Orange County is a different beast when you go to LA and now you're fighting for a spot with everyone in the country, much less the world for that matter. So I was very fortunate to my very first random job happened to be an artist named Carmen Electra, who everybody knows now, right? Was a singer. And at the time, she was dating Prince, I believe. So my first job was going to Minneapolis to do a show with Carmen opening for Prince.
Wow.
And right, so that was
just talk about getting thrown into it.
Just thrown into the fire. I was really, really determined to I want to do this. I want to see if I can get on MTV. I thought it was cool. I would watch videos of MC Hammer and Bobby Brown and Fred Astaire and Gregory Hines and people like that and go, I could do that. So then I just worked my butt off taking classes, but I took classes in jazz, not the genre that I'm known for, because I'm known for hip hop. Jazz was something that I took because I knew I needed the discipline. I knew I needed the technique. Finding your center, things like that actually helped my hip hop. So I became a better hip hop dancer because I had that foundation. It's kind of like how athletes take ballet because they need to learn balance.
Yeah.
Same thing for me as the hip hop guy. I had to learn the jazz. And because of that, I was a multifaceted dancer. So then after they would do the hip hop cut, they would do a jazz cut. And most of the hip hop guys would sit down. So it'd be like a handful of us that would be standing up like, oh, we took jazz. So we took jazz and then I would book those jobs. So even with Carmen, because I could do jazzy stuff, that choreographer tended to be a little bit more jazzy funky, but I could do it because I trained. So that's kind of how that happened. And then that rolled into, he's with Tina Landon now, and she's a big choreographer for Janet Jackson. And then I ended up with Jennifer Lopez because I had done some stuff for Chris Judd, and Chris Judd used to be my assistant. Like I used to bring him to Miami with me to choreograph No Mercy. Yeah. So when I was choreographing No Mercy, I would say, hey, Chris, come with me, and took him to Miami, did some jobs. And then later on in life, when things happened with him, he kind of like repaid back the favor because I was one of the boys. Like, hey, you want to do this job? And it was like Jennifer Lopez video. Did the video, knocked that one out of the park. Then when it came time to go to New York for an award show, I actually had gotten cut because they did Puerto Rico right before, and they replaced most of the black guys with Puerto Ricans because they wanted to represent Puerto Rico. But the guy who I took his place got sick the day before they were going to New York, and I happened to be in LA, right? And Chris calls and says, hey, man, what are you doing? I go, I'm in LA. I actually went to your rehearsal to drop off a CD for Eddie. He goes, don't leave. Right. So I stay there, and he basically was like, can you go to New York tomorrow? I was like, yep. And
Wow.
because I did that show with Jen, right, then, I got to kind of know her a little bit. Then when the tour came, I was just one of the picks, right? So then we did like this mini tour in Europe, and there was 6 of us that did the full international tour. So yeah, my life's been crazy. I just kind of like
Incredible.
popped into pockets, right place, right time, good work ethic, things like that. And those are the kind of things I like giving back at this point, all that kind of knowledge.
That's incredible just to have that timing, right? I want to
Yeah.
back up a little bit and
Uh-huh.
talk a little bit about your the dancing and stuff like that. There's an ongoing conversation we have on this podcast, and I ask
Okay.
all my guests, what is more important, motivation or discipline?
That's a great question. Motivation or discipline?
And
I think
or I should say,
discipline is
which
more
one do you
important.
think comes first?
I think discipline applies when your motivation goes out the window, right? So if you're disciplined, your body goes, you have to do it, even if you're not motivated. I don't know if that makes sense, but because your motivation could go away, but your discipline says, no, this is the part of my regiment. I have to do this anyway. It's like going to the gym. Oh, I'm tired. Doesn't matter if you're tired. The discipline says you go to the gym whether you're tired or not. Same thing. Same
Right,
thing in dance.
right,
Your discipline, your motivation will help you elevate in certain spaces, but your discipline will always be there to guide you and help you when things are not motivated. You know what I
right,
mean? Or motivating, whatever
right.
word that is.
Yeah. So as we talk about that though, and I'm sure you've had some tough days and definitely running around the world and doing all of these things. Can you talk about like how you're building that discipline? Is it just because you love your trade so much that you're just going to get up and, hammer down and nail out what you have to do? Or is there something that just tells you, this is what I'm striving for, this is what I'm working for, and we're just going to go one step at a time and continue in these small steps so I keep going?
Yeah. So my teachers and over my coaches, I should say, are the reason why I learned that discipline. Like I learned it in sport. Some people learned it in dance if your teachers were really good at making sure you're a disciplined person. But I played football, I played soccer, I played baseball. I learned discipline already from that. Right. So I already had that discipline and embedded within me. So then when I went to dance, it was just transferring the discipline over. Now, falling in love with the craft, I knew just like I did in other sports, the more I practice outside of rehearsal, the more I practice on my own in the dark, the better I will be and the more I can compete with whoever's in the room.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's the same thing I did with soccer where I was in the top 30 players in the country, but that's because I would get up at 5 a.m. and kick a ball before school in the racquetball court. I would stay after practice and do stuff by myself. Those are the disciplines that I learned in sports, and I applied them to dance, and it was the same thing. I learned really quickly how to emulate a choreographer within seconds. And that kind of discipline helped me get jobs because then they can see he can do my steps. He looks like me. That's what I want. Boom. Puts him on the job.
Quick learner. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just the comment you made about, doing something, showing up early beforehand. And I kind of feel like I can speak a little bit to this. I had told you I'm not a dancer at all, but through Valerie and going to her hip hop tribe, I've, been able to be introduced to the moves and the steps. And of course, I have a zero rhythm. I will totally call myself out. But with a great teacher, and I feel like Valerie is a good teacher, I think with a good teacher,
maybe still doesn't look great, but I walked away feeling like, wow, I can do this. And so talk about a little bit with the teachers and the instructors and kind of your experience with that.
Yeah, so I had teachers. So I'm going to use one in particular. So when I did dance for Carmen, the choreographer's name is Jamie King, right? I was already a good dancer. Like I was good because I was being seen. People are like, oh, here's this new kid from Orange County. He's really, really good. But at a rehearsal, so Carmen and Jamie were sitting there. We were doing the routine one at a time, and there were 6 of us. And they would say things to me like, you're dancing well, but you're not living in the steps. And I had to learn the difference. I had to learn that, yeah, I can execute it well, but I wasn't exuding what they wanted or exuding energy out to them so that they can feel it, like your audience can feel what you're doing. Right. So because I had a coach, I would call Jamie a coach at that point, telling me those things, it elevated my game as a dancer from that point on. Then I knew, like, okay, I can compete with anybody, even if they're a technically better dancer than me, just because now I know how to live in every step. And that, shows, and that is seen by other people. So he was the coach for me in dance on that level. Like my beginning level may have been like my jazz teacher in college. So Moni would have taught me like how to dance and how to perform. But when you get to LA, the level changes because college and the industry are completely different beasts. So then I needed another coach or mentor, so to speak, to someone to tell me, hey, you're good, but you can be great. So having those people in your life definitely helps you elevate your game because we have mentors along the way. I have mentors now. People who don't even know me are my mentors, right? I will watch like an Eric Thomas, as a motivational speaker, talk about things, or a Les Brown talk about things. And I apply that to my craft and anything that I'm doing, even if it's not dance. But I had people like that I would watch or listen to that I would take in. My dad was a very analytical person. He was a Vietnam vet, but he was always like, do not procrastinate, do not do this, show up early, be on time. We did all the things that most Black people don't do. Like we had a pool in our backyard at 4, right? So the stigma that like Black people can't swim is crazy, right? Because I was like, well, we grew up in Southern California, there's beach, I went, but my dad would be like my first coach, my first mentor. And then along the way, like my football coach, Craven, my Wyatt, who was my soccer coach, same thing. Moni, my jazz coach in college, same thing. Jamie King, same thing. So as I progressed through any industry and ended up in entertainment and in dance, I had that kind of mentality because I had people along the way to teach me that. And I think it's important. So I try to give that back to people. So like you said, like Valerie is very that, hey, you could do this. I believe in you. I see you. I'm going to meet you where you are type of person. And that's why her business is continuing to grow. And she's like spreading joy and love all over the place.
And it really is. It's a very unique experience. Like I said, I have no experience in it whatsoever, but I always walk away from her class going, man, I don't know what I look like, but I feel great. And I
That's the
think
point.
that's the point, right?
Yeah.
And then so I want to go back to a little bit the way that you're talking about mentors and this, discipline that's sort of ingrained in you by your father. And I think one of the things we also talk about on this show is, I'm always encouraging my listeners to just get out and get that knowledge, whatever it is that you're seeking. Don't just sit and rest in what you've been given and accept it. Go out, challenge it, find the answer, find the education, find what you're looking for. Because I think a lot of us sometimes just get lost in the, routine of everyday life and, okay, this is how things are going to be. But when we are, tired of being stuck, the answer to that is elevate, find that education, find that mentor, find that next level.
Yep.
And I think that's really no matter what craft you're doing, right?
Right. No, you always have to find. I tell people if you feel stuck, it's because you've become complacent with who you are, right? And where you're at. A lot of people, what I call a bad habit is wishful thinking, right? I'm going to sit at home and say, you know what? I want to be wealthier by next year. But then you don't do anything. There's no action backed by that, right? So learning something. your success may be on the other end of a book you read, or the end of a conference you go to, or something like that. So you have to not only just change your mindset, but move into that, right? You have to do something else. You have to change your direction. You have to learn something. You have to educate yourself, be better and smarter tomorrow than you were today. Every day I try to like pick something to learn or read or enlighten myself on something, whether it's technology or personal stuff or any of those things. But you always have to, if you want to elevate your game, move in different spaces, right? You can't be the same stagnant person, or you'll just be that person, but you can't complain about not going anywhere if you don't get up.
100%. Right.
Yeah,
I always say too, because the theme of this show is obviously messy, but you have to get messy and uncomfortable in order to grow. Because if you're too comfortable, there's going to be nothing that challenges you. If it doesn't hurt, if it's not, absolutely driving you crazy, you're not going to grow from it ever.
Right.
That is, we should never stop, no matter what the age that we're in. Get messy, get uncomfortable, feel that ick, that mess, but you're going to come out of it on the other side. I feel stronger.
There's so much, I love that word ick. People use that. There is so much ick. Because it's true. There are toxic people and toxic things everywhere. Sometimes you have to look at yourself and wonder if you're the toxic person, right? Because that also happens. Like I made a blurb the other day about people who would call me and they would complain about someone. I said, okay. And then they would call me again and continue to complain about that person. By the third time, I'm telling them that they're toxic. See, you're addicted to fixing somebody who won't fix themselves. That makes you the addict at AA who doesn't drink, right? But you're addicted to the alcoholic friend. So it's the same difference. You become toxic because what you do is you vomit all that crap on me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting energy about a situation you don't really want to change. You just want this person to say, you're right. I'm going to be exactly who you think I should be in your life, right?
Right.
Instead of going, that's how they are. And you're allowing them to be toxic in your life. And then you're taking their toxicity and making it messy for Tim, right? So I go...
And then Tim has to sit with it. And I don't know,
right.
Like with me, I'm an empath. So then I'm going to sit with it. That's why I have to just completely shut off and close off, because I don't want any part of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it gets nutty. And I have to remove myself sometimes from that situation, or I give people limited time and limited access. Or I'll say things like, you told me this story yesterday. So at what point are you going to let it go? Because now I'm getting the energy from this third party, right? And I didn't ask for that energy. You're just giving it to me because you're looking at me like, oh, he's a good listener. He's a sounding board. But this is also why most therapists have a therapist, because everybody regurgitates their information onto the therapist, and the therapist has to take it all in, kind of be pragmatic and say, oh, okay, well, these things can be fixed. You have to understand who you are and why you have these people in your life. But the therapist themselves is taking on that, right?
Right.
Which means now they need to let it go.
Right.
Right. So
they don't want to sit with it either.
I wrote a song called, I have two versions of it. One is called Like the Guru, and the other one's called The Accidental Therapist. Because what ends up happening is I have friends who are licensed therapists, and they will call me and talk for an hour about what's going on in their life. And I asked one of them, I said, do you have a therapist? And she's like, well, most therapists have a therapist. And I said, well, I always end up like the guru, right? I'm always the one people go, let me go talk to Tim. The only difference is I'm not giving them an invoice, right? And I go, okay, well, how do I end up in this accidental session all the time?
Right.
You right? So that's
so it's
where
almost
for
like
me,
your toxic trait is almost like listening too
exactly.
long, right? Yeah, I get the
Absolutely.
connection.
Listening too long. You're right. Giving them time that I can't get back, right? Because I'm trying to be nice, or I'm trying to let them regurgitate it. After the first time, I'm in a place now in my life, because I've done a lot of fixing myself, where after the first time, if that comes again, I'm almost just block it, because then, like you said, I become that person. I become it's toxic to me, and I'm being toxic to myself, right? Because I'm allowing that stuff in my life and going, oh my God, here we are again. You're going to keep this alive. Like this happened yesterday. We're talking about it the next day. Right. And then they call me to go, oh man, yeah, I'm still pissed about that person yesterday. And I'm going, you got to let that go. And I'm letting you go. Right. Because you're letting the other person probably has zero idea you're still upset.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
It's just
sure.
that you need.
And I'm sure you don't want to be rude, right? Or impolite. They're probably a friend. You want to appear to be a good friend. But at what point does it become unhealthy for you? And it's not servicing either of you, really. And there
Correct.
just needs to be that boundary set. And I'll say, I talk about on this show a lot, I have books that I read over and over and over that I just go back to. One of them is
Mm-hmm.
Boundaries. One of them is Do Epic Shit. One of them
I
is
like that.
Atomic Habits.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one, it escapes me now, but those are the ones that I go back to. But Boundaries always seems to be the one that I have to read and reread, because I think I've got it. And it's like, okay, I'm going to put these in place. And then something happens and I'm pulled in this direction. And again, I want to be a good friend. But defining what a good friend looks like, I could be walked all over and somebody would think I'm a good friend, but that's not good for me. Right. So that's just finding that balance.
Because are you a giver?
I am.
Like you give your time, right?
Yeah.
You give your energy to people, because I'm that way,
Yeah.
right? Where I'm used to conducting a class or talking or doing something. And so I'm constantly giving. So there's a point though, where if I'm talking and I'm giving, it's because I'm conducting a class or I'm doing something and I'm like giving my knowledge to the world. In that giving, I'm receiving stuff, right? But the problem is that I will receive way too long, because what they're giving me isn't the same. So I'm receiving stuff that I may not necessarily like, and it's making my head go, okay, now I'm receiving toxic stuff. So then I have to question myself, am I giving that back out? And I have to be careful not to do that. It's like when somebody says something that your ex used to say, right? And you react as though it's the ex, even though this person it's not the right. And I used to get that. Oh, I love when people tell me this. Oh, I've always been that way. I said, that's a choice. You've choosing to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
Because you used to be that way. It never works, but you still use it as the excuse to be in the now. I've always been that way. I've been that way since I was a kid. You're not a child no more.
Right. Right.
That's
and you can
where it gets
decide.
messy.
Right,
Mhm.
right. Well, and I think a lot of that, talking to someone who, I've done a ton of work on myself, not only, emotionally, but physically, spiritually, all of the things that I feel kind of intertwine. We have to constantly be working on that. But it's interesting when you meet and start talking to someone who has no self-awareness, has
Mhm.
not ever looked inside at themselves and said, oh, I need to take accountability for that for sure, right?
Mm.
They're just completely oblivious. And I just find myself, it's one of those crossroads where, is this going to be a friendship or an acquaintanceship that I want to continue and pursue and just accept it at the beginning that I know what I'm going to get? Or is this going to be, maybe I'm going to help them on their journey? And sometimes it's the wrong answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you help a person who's not really helping themselves, then you're just wasting your energy and your
Yeah.
time and
Yeah.
your resources, because
Yeah.
they will never fix the problem. It'll just be you trying to help them fix the problem forever.
Right. Right. And again, I don't know all of the answers and I can barely keep, myself in check. But I think what I am observant of is just there, you can tell when someone is completely not self-aware about and it's almost like that expression, ignorance is bliss, because they really
Uh-huh.
truly just don't have any idea.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, man, gosh, if I could be like that, probably wouldn't worry so much.
Yeah. But it's full, the world is full of, and so going back to kind of like the entertainment side of things, what helped me with my own personal journey is I'd been around a ton of toxic people because it's entertainment business. 50 to 70% is toxic. People are always judging you for what you do. You're only as good as what you did yesterday. You're just the dancer on the totem pole of everyone in the production, which means you're at the bottom. People treat you as such. Like sometimes you feel like you're the help, even though without you, there is no show.
There is no show. Do you feel like there's some narcissism weaved into that as well?
There's a lot of narcissism in there because people want to feel powerful, right? They just, I don't know, they cling on to wanting to be better than anybody else in the room because they think that elevates who they are within themselves or to the public, right? I'm a star. So people will fiend off that, right? And be like, oh, that means I'm VIP. Who are you? You're just the valet guy, or you're just this person, you're just that person. So that narcissism is always there. Everybody's trying to say, this is why celebrities will jockey for position within the same club, even though they're both celebrities. One wants to be the bigger celebrity, even though they're equally as big. But for some reason, their insecurity says, well, I want to be the queen or the king in the room, and you can't have two kings and two queens.
That's true. Yeah.
So then they act like that. But then sometimes that bleeds down into the people who actually work for them. So I was really adamant about not letting somebody look down on me because I'm just dancing. I wanted them to know that I was an asset to every project, right? So I would treat it as such. So there were times even with Jen, we were on tour where things were happening, and it took me and my buddy Brian to stand up for the rest of the dancers because they wouldn't. And I was like, so we were doing a show in Ramstein, and I knew there was another artist that had been there the month before. So we were doing a show for the troops. This is right after 9/11. So it's thousands of soldiers. Well, of course, certain assets of management were like, we want you guys to dance for free because we want you to do it for the troops because we really want to thank them for going to war for us. I says, okay, hold on. Went and made a phone call. Said, weren't you here last week with another artist? Yeah. What did that artist get paid? That artist got $1 million. Right?
What?
Right. So I'm with the bigger artist. My artist got $2 million. So mind you, we're dancers. We're not making that much money.
Right. You're not asking for that.
$1,200 a week times 6 when you're dealing with multi-millionaires, right? So
why weren't they asked to dance for free or entertain for free? I mean, if it is all about the troops, why isn't it across the board?
Because that's where the narcissism comes down. And I will say this, it is usually never the artist. It's never the artist. The artist is too busy doing stuff. They don't really know what's going on in the camp. It's all the people that work in the organization that kind of produce stuff, that do that kind of thing.
Make the decisions.
Well, I had to stand up.
Well, and I think the opposite side to that is it's not like the soldiers were paying the artist $1 million or $2 million. That money is coming from somewhere, right? That's not
the organization. I think it was MTV, right?
Oh, see, so there you go. Yeah,
MTV is making money, and MTV is paying money, and then the organization.
Maybe they'd still be around if they didn't make those kinds of decisions.
You know what I mean? I mean, as soon as they took music off MTV, it was already going downhill. That's the whole point. It's called music television.
I mean, not that we want to go back to the Loader days, but come on.
Right. I'm just it's so crazy. But those things those instances and stuff helped craft me, right? Because there were times where I'm like, okay, do I care? Because I was kind of the person who, I don't really care if you're a celebrity. I don't really care if you're rich.
We're just all people. Yeah,
we're just people. But the reason why narcissism exists and can thrive in some of those industries is because people play into that narcissism because they're like, well, they play little puppy dogs. I'll do whatever you say and do whatever you do and do this and that and the other. And I was like, I'm not that kind of person. I wasn't that way when I was a kid. When everybody wore Nikes, I wore some off-brand. When everybody wore Vans, I wore Adidas. It was just me. I didn't want to follow the flock. I just was my own person. So I was that way in the industry. And because of it, people felt comfortable with me, especially celebrities. So Jen, comfortable with me. I've had conversations with Seal, Michael Douglas, T-Boz from TLC. The reason why I talked to her is because the first thing I did to her was give her the finger at rehearsal.
Way to make a stand, Tim.
Well, because I was being funny, but she was giving me, RBF, right? She was looking at me in the mirror, all like that. And I'm like, so I just kind of like rolled up and I was like, flip of the bird. Then she starts laughing. And then we ended up having a full conversation because she was
You
like,
had
oh,
to
he's
break
being,
that ice.
I
Yeah.
had to break the ice. I was just being real. I wasn't worried about getting fired. I was like, look, I'm good at what I do. If you fire me, that's your loss. I've only been fired once. And that's because, well, it's because at the time I was a co-choreographer with another guy and we were both on the same job of two other choreographers. And we got offered an award show to choreograph and it was a job they wanted. So when they heard that, they fired both of us because they thought we were competition, even though they had all the biggest names
And
in
you
the
probably were.
universe.
You probably were.
We
They
were
had to
good. I
take,
mean,
yeah,
we
they
were
had to
definitely
take you
good
out.
because we were like the new two that were going to come up, and then, people stifle your thing because same thing. It's all ego, you know? And, but that bled into like personal life and things that like I would go, oh my gosh, what am I doing? At first it feels good because something that you want. I'll take, my only marriage at the time. I was so hell bent on wanting to be married and like have a kid that I was like, yeah, I wasn't seeing the red flags. Or I was looking at the red flags and going, oh, they're not that bad. That'll change. But you know what I mean?
Sure.
I do what everybody does, right? You think it's
Love is
going to change and
blind.
you realize people don't change. Most people don't change. And if they do, it's great. But we do a lot of work on ourselves in order to make those changes,
Hmm.
right? And I had to
Which
do a lot of
becomes
work.
transformational, right? If
Right.
you're really going to work on changing yourself, it's not just going to be subtle. It's not just going to be, people aren't going to notice. No, most people that are doing the work inside themselves,
Right.
it's transformational, right?
Yes.
And it should. I've had a lot of people tell me, especially post heart attack, you're not the same person. You're so different. That's right. I am, and you should
Exactly.
want me to be different.
Yes.
I shouldn't want to be stuck in that place that I was, because that was the worst version of myself. Now I
Right.
am dialed in. I am getting more healthy. I am better. I am doing the things that I should have been doing 20 years ago. And it's taken me this long. So you're right. I'm not that person. And if that doesn't fit your narrative, I'm okay with that.
Most of the time when that happens, most of the time when someone says things to you like you're not the same person, it's because they want you to be the person that they don't really believe in.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So when you change your mindset and you move in different areas and you move differently and you elevate your game and you don't spend as much time doing the dumb shit, right? Then people go, well, you've changed. Well, I hope I've changed because I will definitely not get to where I need to be being that old person.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
younger me, the younger me, like the 18-year-old me would have been like super concerned about what people think. Like, oh, well, uh, they may not like it or they may think it's weird or and I'm like, all that stuff. When you
Done.
realize none of it
Yep.
means anything, right?
Really, truly. And not in a spiteful way. I'm not just
Right.
kind of like the FU person. That's not what I'm saying. I have just learned enough about myself and the environments that I want to be in and what I don't want to be in. And I'm okay to walk away and I'm okay to say no. And I think that's, not to, overuse the word, but I feel like that's empowering because I
Right.
wasn't like that. And it put myself in a lot of bad situations and friendships and things that I didn't want to be doing. And then I sat with a lot of resentment because I didn't know how to say, no,
Right.
this is enough.
Mhm. Yeah. When you finally say it's enough, it's very freeing,
It
right?
really
When you
is.
learn that saying no to someone doesn't mean you're trying to be mean, it just means no.
Yeah. And it's not personal. It's not
Yeah.
personal. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
the some of that problem is they take it personally,
I know.
right? And then like since you're an empath, right? You feel that, right? And then you take that on and now you have to figure out how to deal with that emotion. Like, oh, did I make it feel bad? Oh, did I? Because now I go, I don't really care if they feel bad. If they feel bad, that's on them. I don't have the time to worry about your emotions when I'm trying to always worry about my own.
Right, right. Well, and what I say now is I'm okay if they're upset with me. I'm okay. That's okay with me that you're going to be upset with me. I know I'm making the right decision for me. And so it's not, there's no, chip on my shoulder. There's no attitude. It's just, I'm okay that you're not okay. And that,
Mhm.
that's the way that it is. So be it.
I've learned in my life now the term it's lonely at the top and why, right? And I'm not even at the top yet because my journey is still going there. But what I have noticed that my circle has gotten progressively smaller and smaller and smaller the more I elevate myself. because then I have to weed out people who aren't on the same frequency as me and go, and I don't hate those people. I still cordial when I see them,
Sure.
I talk to them,
Sure.
but I don't bring them into my everyday life because it's always a conversation that I'm unwilling to have with them. Like having a poverty mindset is a problem for me. Why? Because I had to deal with myself having that mindset. And once I freed myself from that thought pattern, I was like, I don't want to hear anybody talk about what they can't do. Tell me what you can do.
What can you do? Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and I do that even in dance. A teacher will go, and this part drives me nuts internally, right? They'll teach a class of kids, and they'll say to a kid, don't do it like this. And I go, why are you showing them how to do it wrong? You right? Instead of saying, don't
setting them
do
up for
this, just show them what you want them to do.
Right.
Because what you're saying is you're going to give them the opportunity to show them what failure looks like.
Sure.
Or doing it wrong looks like, right?
And
unless
really
they did
what
it wrong
doing it
and then you were correcting it.
Right. And to me, especially when it comes to kids, it's the adult saying you're already wrong. And so then the kid has to carry that when maybe they're just a little quirky or they move a little differently and that's their style. That's what their, how their brain works. And that's okay too. Like it doesn't have to be cookie cutter for everyone. Right. And I get in a dance class, you want uniformity and things like that, but maybe they're a little quirky. Maybe they've got a personality. Let that shine.
Yeah. And they'll work through it over just like any kind of learning process.
Hey, Messy Warriors. So if you're looking for some help, some guidance, how can I get back on track? Maybe you're newly diagnosed T1D or are a parent of a newly diagnosed child of T1D. Check out my website. There's lots of stuff that I'm offering, lots of support. Look, the T1D world is so much to unpack. It's going to take a long time to get in and settled. So if you need some help, reach out. Let me know, and I'm happy to start you on your journey, or maybe you need some guidance on how to make a better plan. Whatever it is you're looking for, check out everythingsmessywellness.com. And as always, keep it messy.
You get better and you get better in the things that you weren't good at. So the bad word in my class is can't. I hate when people say that. I can't do that. Don't say that. You can do it. And you will eventually get to the place where you feel like you're doing it right within your own body. But you can. You never say can't. Because if you said, I love when people say I have 2 left feet. I go, you don't have 2 left feet because nobody has 2 left feet. I understand the analogy. But people come into my class at Lifetime all the time and go, I can't dance. So what does that mean? They go, well, I don't have any rhythm. I said, well, you walked in here. I have no rhythm. And I go, well, walking takes rhythm.
Yeah, it does.
Talking takes rhythm. Writing, everything takes rhythm. You know what I mean? So if people say they can't dance, I go, okay, well, how come you can dance after a few drinks? It's in you, right? Yeah. What it is fear. You're letting fear guide that part. You feel like that when you dance, everybody's watching you. But you know what's happening is everyone's doing the exact same thing as you, worried about themselves. And when you're young and some kid was like, oh my God, look at the dorky dancer on the dance floor. And I said,
right. And then they're embarrassed. Yeah.
And then they're embarrassed because they don't want people to look at them like they're the dork. But remember, all the nerds in high school are rock stars now. Right? All the choir kids that you thought were dorky are on Broadway. So, but in high school, you didn't really know that. You just thought, oh, there's the nerds and I'm going way back, the socias and the greasers and whatever else, right? Yeah. And then there's like the goth kids. I knew kids who looked like wore Metallica t-shirts and were all black, but were straight A students. But we thought they were vagabonds, right? But it's just how we portrayed them. So for me,
and that's that growth mindset, right? That's having that feasible. You can change that mindset. It's not just a hard no. It's not an I can't. It's I can't do it right now, but I'm putting myself out there and I'm going to learn. And so then my mindset is like, okay, right? Because what is it? If you tell your mind you can't do something, then your body says, okay, and the body sits it out. But if you tell your mind, I'm going to try, then your body's going, put me in, coach. I'm going to try for you because you're leading me with that mindset.
If you listen to like the Mamba mindset, right? So Kobe Bryant, anybody like that, or like Steph Curry, LeBron, any of those guys, they'll say things like, Michael Jordan, let's put this in perspective. So at the time, Michael Jordan was at the height of his career and he was the MVP of the league. Michael Jordan scored more baskets than the average person. But if you look at statistics, he also had the most missed shots in the NBA at the same time. You know why? Because he took 3 times the risks as everybody else. So if you shoot the ball more times than anybody, you're going to make more baskets than everybody. That's why he's great, right?
That's a great perspective.
You know what I mean? So somebody, I think it was, that was a motivational speaker. He used the product 409, you know, the one you spray on stuff, right? 409. And he was like, that company failed 408 times.
Sure did.
Right?
Yeah.
A 409 is $1 million company.
Yeah.
Elon Musk, how many times did he fail before he got it right?
He talks about how much he failed.
The USC, Dana White. They went broke twice. He had to borrow money from like the Ferretti brothers or whatever to rebuild.
Yeah, he was way in debt. Yeah.
Right. Look at him now. You know what I mean? Failure comes, it's part of the process, right?
Yeah.
You know, so you have to like go, okay, or you have to take risks. You have to, like you said, move differently. You can't be stuck in that space. You know, this is why, like when I talk to like Valerie or like Aaron and people like that, same thing. We've all gone through stuff and understood that if we keep ourselves around empowering people, we tend to be more empowered.
Yes.
We tend to move better.
We are the product of the 5 most people that we hang around with. If you hang out with 5 billionaires, you're probably going to be a billionaire. If you hang out with 5 smokers, you're probably going to be the 5th smoker. And that's just the way it goes. And I tell my kids that all the time. All the time. It really is. And it's unfortunate that they do have that much influence, even as adults, right? Like you were talking about the list that you just named with those people that we just want to gravitate towards and hang around with. But even as adults, if we're not mindful of who we're putting ourselves in front of, that could be a bad path for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I say like my circle got smaller and it's changed, right? That's why I show up to a lot of these events now because I'm like, I need to be around people who are driven like me, you know, because people will tell me things and I go, well, what I do and how many things I've done within the compass of MOAT, which is master of all trades, and I do a lot of things well, I had to fight myself a lot, right? I fought myself going, am I good enough? Right? Walking into a room and going,
imposter syndrome is real, man. It really is.
You know what I'm saying? Going, I can't get that girl, or I really want that car, and how do I get it? But I had to learn, I had to move like that. I had to move in places and be confident about what I'm doing. You're going to get no's. You're going to get the door slammed in your face 1,000 times. Kevin Hart says this all the time. Get no's all the time. That's why he's rich, right? Because he used the numbers game. So I go, oh, what does Tim do wrong? And I remember I went to this Landmark Forum thing one time and I watched a guy talk and I was in tears because I was like, I do that. I do that and I do that. I used to kill opportunities because I thought someone was too busy without asking them if they were busy.
Yep.
But that
Just
was
assuming.
my fear of not being perceived as a person that was worthy of their time.
100%.
And I changed all that.
Well, and I'm sure you can talk about this too as a fellow podcaster. You know, such imposter syndrome when I started my podcast. Like, who the hell would want to listen to me? Who is actually going to turn on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and want to listen to what I have to say? But I kept putting in the reps. I kept doing the muscle memory. You go back and you listen to some of my first podcasts and I'm tripping over myself as much as I really think I'm, doing this very professionally. I'm tripping over myself, but I had to put in the reps. I had to keep showing up for myself. I had to keep telling myself, because I'm so passionate about podcasting, that as long as I just believe in it and I keep doing it, something will come. Something will come. So, but that imposter syndrome is freaking real, man.
Yeah, because what we're looking for is validation from the outside, right?
Yeah.
Looking for someone to tell you, oh, I think this is great, or for it to look like that to the masses so that people go, hey, can you read this commercial? We'll give you of money to be a sponsor on your show, blah, 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 blah. And then you start to feel relevant when that happens.
But not even that. For me, it was, why would anybody listen to me? Like, what do I possibly have to say that somebody else either A, hasn't already said, or B, isn't, already doing what I'm doing. And what I figured out, what I finally came to accept is not only the podcasting world, such an incredible, gracious world. No, everybody that I've come in contact with, it was never trying to push me down back to a level that they thought I should be. It was them pulling me along and saying there's
Right.
enough space for all of us here. There's enough
Right.
space. You know, being in the wellness industry, everybody's, oh, it's so saturated. There's enough room. We all have a different story. We
Yes.
all have a different, we can, and why wouldn't we want to pull each other along on the journey? Well, I'm not stepping
Right.
on anybody.
So I just started. It's launching this week, actually. I started another side business. It's Moat Wellness, right? Because I've been speaking a lot, doing a lot of things, and it's kind of where I've been already. And somebody had said that the wellness market is a saturated market. And you go, so you know what the difference between them and me is that I'm me,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a niche for me. I said, when I walk into a room and people go, "Oh my God, Tim talking," that's because they're invested in Tim. Of course, there's a million. I said, but Tony Robbins, Les Brown, Zig Ziglar, you could go down the list. They're all phenomenal.
Sure.
And they all have a space. And those are just the top tiers. There's like thousands of speakers that show up to conventions and speak because whatever they bring, my friend Bradley Rapier is another one, right? He does this whole thing like in the groove because he comes from the hip hop space, but he's a public speaker now. But his story is you got to stay in the circle, stay in the groove circle with your mindset, right? Because that's his niche. He's doing great. My other friend Poet's doing the same thing, going around the world. He raps, he's like an international guy, speaks like 10 languages. Same thing. He puts himself in there. There's a niche for everybody. So the podcast world is great because we have the internet. You could be international. It could be, doesn't matter. If there were 1 million podcasters, okay, divide that by how many people in the world, right? There's 1 million people probably in Orange County, right? Like, you know what I mean? Or Southern California, just one state.
Yeah.
Right. So like you said, there's an audience for everyone. Like
There
even
really
my
is.
podcast, it's not black or white. We just started going, okay, the magic number is like, I think it was like 10, right? Got to get past 10. Most people don't even get to 10. We're like past 20. But in the past 4 weeks, even though we're new, 1, 2, 3, 4, like we have like 7 guests. I mean, people are asking us to be on our pod.
Yep.
Already. So then you go, okay, well, everybody's unique. You have your podcast.
Yep.
This person has their podcast.
And there's room for all of us, right?
Absolutely.
Because first of all, we're not all striving to be Joe Rogan. That's his space. But the second thing is we all are unique. We all have a different story. I'm talking about women's health and heart attacks and my type 1 diabetes and the journey that I've been on and my everything's messy wellness can meet your Moat wellness. And we're not competing each other. We're being in the space together, and that's okay. Like that's
absolutely.
There's space there.
Well, and that's how it should be. I mean, I call everything right now the Adam Sandler collective, right? If you look at Adam Sandler movies, everyone in his atmosphere, right, is usually the same 50 or whatever people. But that's a community that he's built. He trusts this person can play that character. Every once in a while, they bring in new characters. Like he'll go back and forth, even like Drew Barrymore, but just the normal cast. But because he's built this ecosystem that works, they're all actors.
Yeah,
they're all comedians or actors, all living in the same space, all successful.
And there's room for all of them.
Wellness is no different, and what we're doing is no different.
Yep.
We help each other. Go, oh. You come on my podcast, I go on your podcast, we talk about your podcast, we introduce you to this person who could be a guest on your pod. We kind of do all that amongst each other. And then we create our own ecosystem of people helping people.
Well, and to your point, I think also the flip side to that is we can weed out, or at least hopefully weed out the people that we see are maybe going to take advantage of us. We don't trust them. Their motive is not as pure as we are with our motive and our dreams and our agenda. And that, I think, especially in the beginning for me, that was really hard because, in the beginning, you're just saying yes to everything, to anyone, ever. You just want to do everything. And I often think about that time and wish I could go back and set myself up a little better because there were some downturns that I had to face with some people that I thought I could trust, that I thought were out there for the right reasons, and absolutely were not. And that's a hard lesson. That's hard.
And that's so Tyree said this one time. He said, there's a devil on every level.
Amen.
There is a devil on every level.
Amen.
So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how good we're doing things. There's always that person or some entity that comes in that tries to take advantage or tear you down or bleed you for what you have and then turn their back.
Well, and to that point, boy, are they smooth.
Right.
My gosh. You don't see, or at least I didn't. I feel like I'm a little smarter now, but they're smooth, man. Talk about a smooth operator.
I the devil is a pimp. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, this is the analogy that I bring up too. We have a TV show called Lucifer, right? Lucifer is a good-looking dude, owns a casino. He looks like every girl's dream guy, successful, this and that and the other. So yes, they're slick because they're cloaked in that, everything that you want, right? Everything that you want to hear. And they're really good at telling you everything you want to hear. Oh, you're this. Oh, you're that. I'm going to help you get here. Oh, I can see it. I'm going to make sure, blah, 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 blah. And then you take the bait and all of a sudden they just crap all over you. Like, okay, you know?
Yep. It's good for a season, but then, man, when that season ends, get ready to pay the piper.
And that's the thing. People always typically want something. And you can tell the difference between someone who generally wants to help you succeed, you know, and be there on the journey with you, and someone who really is just trying to ride the train until they get to their destination and then they bounce.
Very well said. Very well said. No, that's true. So really quick, talk a little bit about your podcast and what is your podcast about?
So my podcast is called It's Not Black or White. Myself and Diane Blakely, we're co-hosts on the show. We have an array of topics. When we first started, they leaned a little bit in the political space because she's more of the political person. But I was more of, because I've been an independent my whole life. So even though, you know, we live in a toxic political environment, I'm always trying to find peace within it.
Thank God.
So my perspective is always different. If you go, I don't like this person, I don't think their politics is the politics that, I'm more trying to dissect why. Why do people blindly believe things? You know, why do people say nasty things when someone questions what they're doing? Right. And they go down this other rabbit hole or they deflect. So we've gone from the political space to now having, like, we had Eddie Garcia on, he danced for Michael Jackson, right? So Eddie was on the Bad Tour. Eddie had a lot to say. The Michael movie came out, so I thought, great, we should put him on the show. We also had Taylor Shoup on the show, who used to be a CEO at Stance, which is a sock company that provided socks for MLB, NBA, whatnot. But he has this whole philanthropy side to him that is incredible. And he's creating a thing called Seconds, which is people who needed the second chance to do great things. And he's hired a bunch of people in his organization who, you know, had a shifty or whatever life, turned their life around, and now they're like the most productive and the most available and the most loyal people in his business. So
because they're hungry, because they want that second chance. Yeah.
And they got the second chance, right? And then we had another woman who had a double mastectomy. She's a cancer survivor. My co-host is also a cancer survivor, so that conversation was great. And they talked about all the little details, like them giving you red devil and all these things, and your charts reading wrong, and them just grabbing radiation and going, take this. So we went through that, and we had an AI expert on as well. The podcast is like any podcast, like Flagrant or even like Joe. We'll just have people on because their stories are interesting, and a lot of times we get down to the meat of outside of their business or their trauma. Who are they? And then the audience usually can relate to something in their journey. Like if you've had breast cancer, or if you've had this happen to you, or, you know, we didn't know that the CEO had this whole other side that's artsy to him. Like everything is sustainable in this business. They don't throw waste. They turn waste into art, right?
Wow.
So if they make a couch, all the shavings get in a bucket and go there. It turns into whatever is going to paint that wall, goes into the texture, like that kind of stuff. So So it basically encompasses a lot of things, and it's great because I'm learning a lot too along the way, just about stuff, especially when we got into the AI tech space, because I geek out like that anyway. But when you start to find out, like, ooh, you try not to let some of that stuff, like the AI stuff, because it's super productive if you use it as a tool. I use it as a tool all the time, right?
Sure. Yeah. It's that
But
slippery slope that I'm scared of.
yeah, it's the side, because we all know whatever's good for you, someone turns into a weapon, right? So it's that side. Like, it's the control. Like you said, when somebody tries to come into your world and manipulate you, they're very smooth about how they say
Yeah.
it.
It's that
We
Pandora's
provide
box.
things, right? We provide data and information to things willingly because it is given to us as though it is like a gift. Like, oh, this would be so great for you. You know, it's so convenient. Just go to Whole Foods and wave your palm on this machine that scans every information in your credit card. I was like, what? You know what
I
mean?
read Revelations. No, thank you. I know
I
where
saw
that's
that
going.
too. The mark of the beast is real. And we are there. And
We
it's
are
like,
there.
ooh,
Yeah.
my mom used to talk about it when I was a kid. I'm like, oh, we're living in that time now. Like, we're living in those times because it's not getting better. It's getting worse. And it's like, ooh, so like anything, it's better to know your enemy than not,
And that's
which
true.
is how you know what I mean?
And that's true.
So, because it's like it's the devil. Like, I said the devil. Let's just say Satan. If you believe in Satan, some people don't,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, well,
I know people who say they believe in Satan and they say, but they don't believe in God. And I always say, guess who believes in God? Satan. So, you know what I mean?
because he comes in the night to seek and destroy, and he will.
You know what I'm saying? So I go, anything like AI, or I'm always like, let me learn about it because I'd rather know than not know. And that's just my personal journey, because I'm like, look, I'd rather know and use it as a tool to help me navigate through it. So when things present itself, I go, and I have friends who are way smarter than me in AI, and they tell me stuff all the time where I pick their brain because they're constantly doing the same thing. Don't ask it like this, ask like this. Don't do this, do that.
Yeah.
Because whichever AI you're using has its own parameters. It's taking all your information.
Yeah, it is.
And going,
building
bah.
files. Building
Talk about
files.
messy.
Right.
Talk about messy.
Well, and I always say too, and I think especially since COVID, your podcast, my podcast, I think the one common theme is we're all looking for connection. We're all looking for relatability. And as much as the AI stuff might be out there, we're still looking for that human contact
100%.
and those messy stories. And
yeah.
I'm a big believer that everybody has some sort of a messy story that got them to where they're at. And I think, to come on and share it and talk about it, and people, I think they're craving it. Like I said, I think especially since COVID, where that fever dream that we all lived through. Now we're waking up and we're like, no, I need that connection with someone. I need to relate. I need to know what's going on with you and just bring us all together and go, yeah, hey, you know what? Maybe that exact thing didn't actually happen to me, but I can understand and I can have empathy and I can be there with you in the moment, right?
That's why it's important to be amongst the people, right? So, because I have friends who will try to tell me what is going on in the world, and I'll say, have you been anywhere? No, I'm at home. I see this stuff on the internet. I said, man,
Quit
when I go to a
watching
bar,
the news.
when I go to a bar, and I said, we're going to throw this in the political space for 2 seconds. When I'm at a bar, no one's asking me who I voted for. Men go, who's buying the beer? That is a human response, right? That is some people who go, I go to the bar because at the bar, I can just deal with the people in front of me. Most people are breaking bread and wanting to meet people and stuff like that. Yeah. That's a human side, right? Yeah. If you get caught up in your television or your phone too much, you're letting it control your thoughts and it 100%. Control your perspective and do all those things. I said, just talk to the people, man. I got friends on both sides of every spectrum, and when I see them, we're just hanging out as people.
Just existing. Yep.
You know what I mean?
So, and you talk about the bar. I tell you who's ordering all the beer. It's the Scots in Boston.
Right now, if you were in Boston,
there's no beer.
There's probably no beer. They're probably trucking it in or flying it in. That town is going crazy. So my boss from one place I work, they just went because their son goes to CLI, and I think it's in Boston. So they're in Boston right now. And I was like, good luck. I said, it's going to be mayhem. And that game's tomorrow.
That's crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, that game is being played in the World Cup. So I'm like, good luck. It's going to be nuts. Probably a
Oh
lot of
my
fun,
gosh.
but it's gonna
Yeah.
be nuts.
It's gonna be fun. Yes. Well,
Yeah.
okay, Tim, where can people find you?
You can find me. It's on Instagram. It's Tim Stevenson official. Also for the pod, it's not black or white one on Instagram, and on TikTok it's Tim Stevenson 2. On Facebook, it's just Tim Stevenson. Also Moat Inc. on Instagram and Moat Inc. on Facebook. And I'm everywhere you want to be.
Everywhere. And we'll list that all in the show notes. And just want to thank you so much. What an incredible conversation. I enjoyed so much having you on as a guest. And
Thank you
just
for
wish you
having
the
me.
best of luck with everything that you're doing. And hope to see you again.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll dance.
We'll dance. Okay. Take care. Okay.
All right. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Everything's Messy podcast. Whew, if you made it this far, give yourself a gold star or at least a nap. Honestly, if you showed up today and you were listening, you've already crushed it. I'm so grateful for you listening. If anything hit home, share it, tag me, write it on a sticky note. I don't care. Just don't keep all of this messy goodness to yourself. You can find me on Instagram at Everything's Messy Wellness or over at my website, everythingsmessywellness.com, where I've got resources, coaching, and probably a new rant about blood sugar or something that's just nonsense. It's all waiting for you. Check out my YouTube channel. I've got all of my podcast episodes up there. And I'm on X at Everything's Mess. Or if you just want to send me an email, Sarah at everythingsmessywellness.com. Look, until next time, hydrate, take no crap, and as always, keep it messy.